Hey everybody, welcome back to the hauler. Mike again with Hills and Haulers Homestead, and I'm trying to get these daggone pigs to get up here in the new paddock. All day long it's been like this. They'll come right up to about the edge of the fence and turn right around and go back. I even dumped their feet. Hey, see, there he goes again. All right, so we were able to get the paddock open. We got the post set there this morning. We had to actually build a fire. It was 8 degrees. The ground was frozen so solid. We had to build a fire right there and let it burn for an hour before it softened up the ground enough to where we could dig in and set the post. So we have the jumper across from the main fence to the disconnect and then across to here. And we're pulling 13.8 kilovolts on this jumper right on the main fence over here, or on the fence on this paddock from the jumper. So you only need 3 for a pig, so we're good to go with that. The little pig house is done. Their waters are moved over here. Their food's moved over here. There's hay in there for them. All I got to do is get these knuckleheads moving because they have no water and they have no food in there. All we did was we opened up where 2 panels overlapped right there at that T-post and drove a T-post there, a T-post there, kind of tensioned it on that, slid 2 more panels in and right into here where they can come right up here. And once they come up here, all I got to do is yank those panels out, close the gate, and Bob's your uncle. Thank goodness we've had the kind of day that we've had. Even though it was 8 degrees this morning, it warmed up to a balmy 38. Nice clear skies most of the day, or mostly clear skies for the day, and even a good bit of sunshine, but it's still pretty cold out here now as the sun's went down and it's had a good breeze all day. So I'm going to touch on a topic everybody else has. Actually, I want to touch on 2 topics. Number 1, my chickens are not laying eggs like they were. And there's a funny thing about that because I'm not using any of the feed from Tractor Supply or Purina. I'm using my own feed, my own mix that I've been, that you've seen maybe several videos back. So even with my own custom feed, it's wintertime. And my chickens have stopped laying eggs to the extent to where I'm getting about 4 eggs a day out of all of those chickens, if I'm lucky. Now, I have artificially extended their light since they started laying in October. So one breed, the American Breast, started laying in October, and then the Delaware Broiler started laying at the end of November. And ever since they have started laying, I did artificially extend their light because it was right about daylight savings time when the Delaware Broiler started laying. So I had light coming on at 5 a.m. and it was going off at 8 p.m. And artificially extending their light did not make a difference in their egg production up until the weather started changing. And I think that's probably what's thrown them off so much, is that we've had such crazy fluctuations in the weather. Temperature fluctuations as well, obviously. Burr. So since their egg production has been way down, I've not changed anything. I am going to add more protein to their food. I just ordered 10 pounds of black soldier fly larvae. I have some split peas, some dried split peas I'm going to add into their feed. And I got the Fertile NutriBalancer that I'm going to add into their feed as well. And I've turned off the artificial light. It only comes on at 5 o'clock in the morning and it shuts off at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I'm only doing that for a little bit, and for probably the rest of this month. And the 1st of March, I'm just going to turn the light off altogether and let them go with straight natural light. And that way, when we come back to the normal lighting or the extended lighting, it won't be too much of a stretch for them. All right, so that out of the way, I can't blame that on Tractor Supply feed or anybody else's feed. All right, and it just makes me wonder if there's just a lot of people out there who are new to raising chickens and don't understand that chickens' egg production will slow way down or even stop in the winter months. But I think with the crazy weather that we've had, that's probably exacerbated it a little bit more. All right, the next thing is the Chinese spy balloon. I've not seen it here today. I know it was over Montana, and why they were afraid to shoot it down over Montana, it's not like they have a huge population of people, so I really don't think it was going to land on 10 or more people's heads out there. Not saying that people in Montana don't matter. I'm just saying big sky country, big open state. Okay. If it was over Ohio, like Columbus or Cincinnati or over Milwaukee, I'd say, hey, yeah, okay, so probably not a good place to shoot it down. But over Montana, the Dakotas, things like that, I'd say probably that'd be your safer bet because you have a lower population there. But who am I? I'm just some freaking hillbilly that lives up a holler in West Virginia. And that brings, no, that doesn't bring the fact that I'm a hillbilly living up a holler in West Virginia. But that brings up another topic. So this morning, while I was catching up on my homestead videos and stuff that I watch on YouTube, somebody had come across and was talking about, there was a study that the U.S. had done, the military had done, about electromagnetic pulse and, you know, what it would take to wipe out America's infrastructure with an EMP. And what they were talking about is that a nuclear warhead detonated at 250 miles above the surface of the earth would essentially wipe out the U.S., a big swath of Canada, and a big swath of Mexico, wipe out their infrastructure, their electrical grid, everything. So when the electric grid goes down, everything's going to go down. Eventually natural gas goes out, municipal water goes out, all transportation, excuse me, everything, every vehicle, every generator, solar panels, all of it gets wiped out because it's an electromagnetic pulse. And you guys just need to get to moving, because I'm going to kick you in the butt. It's getting colder out here and I'm hungry. I haven't eaten all day because I've been out here building your daggone new home for you, you butthead. All right, so anyways, so I ran across that and I was watching that and I'm like, well, that's pretty good, you know, dry run for the Chinese spy balloon. Bring a, you know, nuclear warhead in the U.S. in a spy balloon like that. Nobody's shooting it down. Nobody's doing anything about it. Boom, bye-bye U.S. Now, you don't die from the EMP itself. So it's not like radiation, fire, or anything like that. What it does is it wipes out your infrastructure, everything, fries everything. They said within a year, 1 year's time, that 90% of the U.S.'s population would be dead. So you look at 330 million people. In a year's time, 300 million people are dead. Of course, it wipes out healthcare. It wipes out hospitals' abilities to do that, because even their generators are fried. So people who require supplemental oxygen, they no longer have that ability. That you may have, you know, a little bit of extra time with the compressed gas in the bottles, but as far as your concentrators go and everything like that, they're gone. People who are on dialysis, people who need a ventilator. So, you know, your healthcare industry, you're chronically ill, are going to be your first to go, and they're going to go pretty quick. After that, you know, no more food getting shipped in, no more transportation, because no vehicles are running, no trains are running, no planes are flying, none of that. Municipal water's down, natural gas is down, no more electric, no more cell phones. Everything electronic that we live and take for granted, live with and take for granted today, is gone. So, you know, in a year's time, 300 million people dead. Now, of course, you got human beings who would be perpetrating violence against fellow human beings, you know, to get ahead, to, you know, survive on their own. And I said all the time that people are always going to be our biggest threat, no matter what the issue is. So, you know, but people who are professional consumers, people who don't do anything for themselves in the light of, you know, self-sufficiency, self-reliance, don't grow any food, don't raise any animals, who don't grow any gardens, who don't do anything like that, they're going to be left holding the bag. You don't have any food stores, you're done. You know, now you've got no way of getting food. You're going to have to go beg, borrow, and steal, or commit violent acts to try to get from someone else. And, you know, then you're going to look at starvation. You're going to look at people who don't know how to purify, sterilize, and filter water. You're going to have people drinking dirty water. They're going to get waterborne illnesses. They're going to die from that. It's just, I mean, there's all because of no electricity, because it's going to wipe everything else out. And I think about that and I'm going, that's just crazy. I mean, that's honestly, it's almost unfathomable to think that losing electricity and wiping out our infrastructure could be so deadly. And the reason for that is because we are a society of professional consumers. Now, folks of us, like us in a rural area, they say it would take about a year to get, you know, services restarted. But hell, they're not going to come up my holla in a year. They're not going to restore electric and water back to my holla in a year's time. It's going to hit the bigger, what would have been the bigger population centers, the bigger cities and stuff. At that point, who knows what's going to be there. But, you know, those of us who grow gardens, who raise animals, who can fend for ourselves, who put food stores away, we're going to have a lot better chance. Now, I'm not saying we're invincible and that we wouldn't be affected. Of course we'd be infected, or be affected. The good thing is we have a wood stove. Even if my chainsaws get fried, we have hand saws. We have buck saws. We have, you know, two-man saws. We have all that. So if I got to come out here and start cutting trees down with two-man saw, me and the old woman, we'll be out here cutting down trees and bucking up logs for firewood. So everything becomes physical. Everything becomes manual labor in light of that. But we're going to have warmth from the wood stove. We're going to be able to boil water. We're going to be able to sterilize water. We're going to be able to cook. We're going to be able to keep ourselves warm. All of that comes into play with that. And we don't require electricity or any kind of grid for that to happen. We got a pond. We've got springs on this property. We can collect water. We can kind of rough filter it out to get the big particles out if need be, and then boil it, and then run it through our Alexa Pure water filter. And we've got dry stores food. We've got canned goods from the garden, meat that we've canned, chickens that we've canned. I'm watching the pig, see if he goes across again. He'll be stubborn. But, you know, we have all of that available to us. And I'm pretty certain that with everything that we have right now, we could go a year. And we can extend it more. We're coming into spring here soon, another 6 weeks. And we can start going ahead and we're going to start germinating our seeds, because we keep our own seeds. So we're going to start germinating our own seeds and have them ready to go in the ground or in the raised beds when the weather's good enough here. So there you go. So, you know, just the idea that that many people in the U.S. from an EMP, from losing electricity, essentially losing all electronics, all electricity, everything like that, would die. And it makes me think, because I think back to people like my grandma. And, you know, my grandma, she died in 1996. She was 85 years old. She was born in 1911. She lived through Spanish flu, World War I, the Great Depression, World War II, coming into the nuclear age, and then post-World War II, you have the Korean War, you had the start of the Cold War, into Vietnam. I mean, everything that followed during that time frame. And these people, they not only survived, but they thrived. And they thrived in rural Appalachia because they did for themselves on their own. They raised their own animals. They processed their own animals. They raised their gardens. They preserved their foods. They did everything that they needed to do because they didn't have Walmart. You wasn't running a Giant Eagle. You wasn't running a Price Cutter. You wasn't running to the grocery store all the time. Once a month or less, you were going maybe to go get your flour, to go get your sugar, things like that. And actually most of that was done at the company store for the coal mines, because, you know, my grandpa was a coal miner, and they went from mine to mine working and stuff. So, you know, they were paid in coal script, which wasn't real money, but that's the only way that the coal companies would pay them. And then they were only able to buy everything that they needed from the coal company's own stores. So that was that was indentured servitude at its best. So, you know, what they got paid with, they couldn't save because they couldn't take it to the bank and cash it. They couldn't spend it anywhere else but the coal company store. They raised their gardens, they raised their animals, they did what they had to do. And they made do on their own until they could buy their own place and not be dependent on coal script and stuff like that. So, you know, different threats, different time, same result. If you can't take care of yourself, if you can't provide for yourself, in the end, you're going to be one of that 90%. If you can provide for yourself, if you have good food stores put away, you know, they say 3 months is the minimum, and that's great. 3 months, that's a start. Take it out to a year, because they say that it would take that long to start getting infrastructure back up and running. But, you know, in that time frame, the only thing that would change here, of course, without electricity, is we can still stay warm. We still have rabbits that we can breed and process. We have chickens who are producing eggs. We can breed, we can incubate and process chickens, and we can grow our own flock. We can breed pigs. We can butcher pigs. We can do all of that. And I'm not saying that we're immune to anything or that we wouldn't be impacted or affected, but we could survive. So when I tell you guys, get prepared, stay prepared, that's not a catch slogan. That's that's advice. Get prepared and stay that way. Grow your ability to be self-sufficient and take care of yourself and your family. Again, I would never want to look at my children and say, I'm sorry, there's no food. I didn't do anything to prepare for this. You know, through the summer when we grow our gardens, we eat out of our gardens for our own fresh vegetables and everything through the summer. We also can, and we can 3/4 of what we grow. What we don't eat immediately, we can and preserve. And, you know, put our dry stores away. We can some chickens. We buy ground beef and we pressure can it. We pressure can chickens. We have canned meat that we buy from the store. We have beans, we have rice, we have sugar, we have salt, we have, you know, maple syrup, we have honey, local honey, we have everything out that is shelf stable. That's what you put away. Because, and I'll say this over and over and over, if everything in the end comes out fine and dandy, you got a bunch of food to eat. But if it all goes to hell, you got food to eat. So I can't say that enough. And I'm not telling you guys to become preppers. I'm not telling you guys to go hoard and do this, but you have to have enough food for you and your family. You have to have the ability, or at least the knowledge, to know how to collect, purify, sterilize, and filter water and sanitize water. You have to know how to do that. You have to have that ability to do that. You have to think. You have to know how to keep yourself warm. You have to have the ability to keep yourself warm when there's no electric, when there's no natural gas, when there's no more propane. So I can't say that enough. Obviously the pigs are not going to move. So I'm just going to leave that open for them for the night. Eventually they'll go through there because their food and water is over there and they'll make their way over there. But we're going to end there. It's cold. I'm hungry. I've not eaten yet. So again, get prepared. Stay prepared. Take care, guys. God bless.